Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And today we are back with our Shakti video series with Eve Mendoza and Sanjana. Today we have the video on Parvati and why is it a remedy for the moon. So I welcome Eve Mendoza and Sanjana.
Hi, all of you. Thank you so much for having us here. We have a special guest today that I've known for years. I love her mother, and her name is Sanjana. She's a devotee of Meenakshi Devi. And so I had asked her to come and open with this. Meenakshi Devi is her guru. And so this is an example of a young lady who's actually made Shakti her personal guide in her life. Her devotion all goes to Meenakshi. So Sanjana, please open with the prayer. And she's also going to tell us a little of the story of Meenakshi.
Okay. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatiye Namaha. Om Madhurapuri Nayike Namaste. Madhura Ramishu Kambira Mahaste. मलयध्वज पाण्ड्य राजकन्हे मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामि वेदिदन्ये कचनिक्किजकालमेघकान्ते कमलासेवितपादपङ्कजान्ते मधुरापुरवेल्लभेष्टकान्ति मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामि वेदिशान्ते भुजयुग्मदिवुत्तचक्रवाके कृपया पालित सर्वजीवलोके मलयध्वजसङ्कगे पकाके मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामि वेदिपाके विधिवाहनजेयुकेलियाने विमना पोदनपूजिपातभारे मधुरेश बभावभूतमीने मयि मीनाक्षि पृगां विवेदिवीने तपये पननोजिनी ततस्ते तुहिना प्रायमदितरोदहस्ते मदरानिददिक्कगे क्रकाके मयि मीनाक्षि पृगां विवेदिशान्ते कलगीयरिनोतिनाददक्षे कलिजाजे जददन्दिवासि रक्षे मदनासुकहल्लकानपाने मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामुरुतवीने मधुवेरिनिक्तमुख्यसेवे मनसा भावितछत्रमौलिसव्ये तरसा परिपूर्णयज्ञहव्ये मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामि वेदि भव्ये जगदं गददम्बमूलवासे कमलामोदिदति तुमन्तहासे मदरं दिदचारुवत्तिवासे मयि मीनाक्षि पृगामि वेदिदासे Om Shanti 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 Jai Mata Meenakshi Ki Jai Om. So just now the mantra I've chanted is actually called Meenakshi Mani Mala Astakam. This mantra is actually is like we are like placing our head onto her lotus feet, like we're surrendering ourselves onto her. So yeah, so this is the short simple mantra. It's actually a good mantra of her. So that's why I thought of chanting, this mantra. Yeah. I hope that Devi Meenakshi will be with us and may she lead the correct path, and also say may I say the correct things also. Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. I just want to hug you right now. That was so beautiful. So grateful you agreed to do this. So did you want to tell us her story a little bit?
Yes, I would love to. So, Meenakshi Devi is actually a avatar of Ma Parvati. Just want to go, just a summary of a story. So, like, there's this great bhakt of Ma Parvati, and her name is Vidyavati actually. So she actually did tapasya for her, and she always wanted Devi Parvati to show her darshan to Vidyavati. So once the correct timing, Ma Parvati showed herself, and Vidyavati always wanted Ma Parvati to be incarnated as a daughter. So Ma Parvati agreed. You know, everything happens according to her wish. So Ma Parvati agreed with Vidyavati, and in her next life, Vidyavati was born as Kancha Malai, and she was married to a husband named Malayadwajan. So both of them were king and queens, okay? And they mean in her next life, she forgot her boon, but Ma Parvati remembered the boon that she promised her. So they've been actually, for king and queens, right, they will pass down the lineages onto their child and all that. So for a long time they always wanted to have a child, but they couldn't. So they asked all the gurus and all the saints to come and do the yagna, the fire ceremony. And one day, the special titi, this 3-year-old girl came out from the fire, and her name was Meenakshi. And there's this divine voice that that came when she appeared from the fire. The divine voice told Mata Meenakshi's father Maladwajan that she should be raised as a prince, because many times, right, princess cannot do like warrior things. Princess supposed to be confined in their rooms. They're not allowed to do like what prince will do. But Ma Meenakshi is actually a special Devi being born, because she shows us that not only men can only do this kind of things, females also can. And we are also both, like what males can do, Shakti also can do, and what females can do, males also can do. So in this picture over here, you can see that Meenakshi holds some weapons in her hands. It shows that she's a great example of being a warrior princess. So she was being brought up by her father, and she's actually the divine voice also told father that she should be treated, or I mean should be learn all the warrior things what prince normally will learn. So as she grows up, a lot of people love her a lot. A lot of people adore her so much. And you notice her eyes are like the fish shaped eyes. So that's why Meenakshi comes from there. Meenakshi means the one who have fish shaped eyes. So a lot of people was mesmerized by her. So that's why they name her that. Actually, she wasn't the one who named herself. People, the citizens of Madurai, name her that. And till today, actually, Meenakshi has been loved by a lot of people in Madurai, because Madurai is a lineage of Meenakshi Devi, the Pandya lineage. So till today, there is her lineage also in Madurai. So as time goes up, she does a lot of battle with a lot of people. So beside her is actually all her attendees who also learns along with her. So as time goes by, she goes around with other people, a lot of people, and she defeat a lot of men. But there's one more quest you need to go, which is actually Mount Kailash there, the abode where Mahadev stays. And when she met him, she know that he was the one that she should marry him. So actually, she couldn't defeated him, and she know that actually Mahadev came in the form of Sri Sundeshwara were meant for her. She was meant for him. So both of them came back to Madurai, and both of them got married. Until today, actually, there's this ceremony called Meenakshi Triyu Kalyanam. It's actually a festival where Mata Meenakshi and Sri Sundeshwara get married. And actually, in Madurai today, right? Actually, will do this kind of they will do the marriage ceremony of both of them. But on Meenakshi Triyu Kalyanam usually happens around April or May. They'll do a grand ceremony for both Meenakshi Devi and Sri Sundeshwara. So till today, Madurai is actually the place of Meenakshi and Mahadev. So actually, I recommend anybody to go there, because it's such a great it's such a great place. And she also walked there, just like how Ma Sita, Sri Ram, everybody came on earth and walked. She also come here and do her stories. So it's very good if we go there, have a chance. I think I best recommend to go there. Yeah. So that's about it. Yeah.
Sanjana, thank you so much.
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to open with that kind of warmth. Truly, I just appreciate you and your sisters and your mother so much. So please give them all hugs for me. And I know you have to go somewhere today, so I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Out. Oh, there she goes. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, that's so lovely. Thank you, Navji and Dr. Paiji for. I know it's the first time you met her. She's so lovely, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just I don't know if I should even go after that kind of innocent faith. So refreshing. So let's dive in. So our topic today is perhaps to consider why the deeper reasons why Chandra Graha is the remedy for Chandra Graha is often Uma Devi Parvati. And we're going to go kind of deep into this. And I have a less translation for you guys on purpose. This is on purpose that I've done this because we're kind of holding a gathering right now together with focus on Mahadeva, Parvati, and Chandra Graha. To strengthen your own connection to this vidya, because I am avidya. I'm an ignorant person, and I always open with praying that everyone is protected from my ignorance. I do not want anyone copying me or living a life like I live it. I am a very ignorant person. The one thing in my heart I'm very moved to share as a friend or a sister is whatever this devotion is that I've had for so many years that I myself don't even understand to this day. I can't think of anything else. I don't do anything else. So whatever that is, I would just like to awaken that in the hearts of others. So I encourage all of you as we go through here, I'm going to be going into some deeper aspects, as I said. And some of these I did not write down the English translation because I will tell you about it. But if you get the PDF, I will have it on my website once again, just like the Lakshmi one. Take the time to understand these things on your own. If you actually go look up the word yourself, it will stick in your mind much more than some idiot like me just throwing words around. It's gotta penetrate your heart somehow. It's gotta penetrate somehow. And that's usually by your own effort. And that's what we're really going to be talking about with Parvati. This miracle of one pointed devotion. And its incredible ability. And it's in all of us. An Olympic gold medalist does not get a gold medal by dividing their focus. No thing in this world that is worth having is achieved by dividing your focus or your concentration. And so one of the things that I often talk to people about, like even when they come to me about their spiritual path, let's say, and I find that they are doing about 7 different things and they're complaining because they've gotten no benefit, what they consider a benefit from anything that they're doing. I often ask them, I inquire, why do you feel you need to dig so many holes in the ground? Why are you wasting energy on this, and this? You can only go deep with one. You only have a limited amount of energy, whether you like to accept that or not. It's better to keep digging in one place. You'll eventually hit water. And that's true with almost everything. This is why, so many of us, we don't even realize we're being dictated to by fear of failure, all these strange things, reasons that we keep all this variety is kind of interesting to consider. Why we have all this variety. So this is going to be a huge topic with Chandra, okay, with the moon. Why do we actually need all this variety? What are we lacking so much that we need all these options? I'm not saying you don't need them. I'm not preaching. There's nothing here. It's to activate a question in you, because this is an important question for you to ask yourself. If you can't answer this, you might want to step back from any like beginning of a spiritual path or something, because when you go on a spiritual path, when you do pick up a real practice, if you're all over and you don't really know what you're doing or why you're doing it, you're just kind of doing it because it's good. Someone told you it's good to do. That's not the best way to do these things. You can actually kind of get in trouble, or you can just waste your time because the path might not be for you. It might be better you just have actually a simple, nice life without involving all this occultism and all of this. You can have a wonderful life, and that can even be spiritual. So, what's spiritual for each person isn't spiritual for the next, perhaps. We don't know. We need to really be honest with ourselves. The most honest thing a human being can say is they don't know. So, let's once again, let's start from a place of one of the most honest statements we can all make. I don't know. And let's let go of all the concepts, just if we can for this time, all the things we think we know about the moon, all the things we think we know about Shiva, Parvati, this, that. Let's just kind of be open. And these are their actual names we're going to be dealing with, as I always draw attention to. What's their names? Okay, simple. I don't need a bunch of texts and all that. If I understand the names, I understand so much. So let's start with Mahadeva, who Parvati, this princess, is willing to give up all the comforts of her kingdom, of her life. As a young woman, as a beautiful young woman, she's willing to focus all of her vital energy, even to face death, to gain Mahadeva as a husband. So I have some of his names here. I have him holding the skull, Gura Tapasi. Tapase. This is in mantra form. Sorry, I just took out the namaha because it's all in the Sahasranama. So Gura Tapas. What is that? It's frightening tapas. Frightening. Scary tapas. This is a princess who's giving up all of this to be with this specific intelligence. Okay, Mahatapase. Okay, great at tapas. Okay, Kapalavate, holding a skull. This is I just want you to sink in. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about why. Smashanavasan. The word in Hindi is samshan. It's just turned into samshan, but originally it's smashan. Okay. So cremation ground. He's smeared in the ash. Okay, he's said to be naked. This guy is not walking around well dressed. He's not the guy with the hot car, the physique with all the muscles. I mean, they draw him this way, maybe, but I don't know about that. This is a guy who doesn't really focus on that. Okay, he's not about the external. This guy is not, clearly. He is the one that the parents are fainting when they see. Okay, they're fainting. The mother faints. They don't understand how this lord of goblins and ghosts and ganas, these animal-headed spirits. You see them well represented in Tibet. And the Kinkara, they're also represented in Tibet. They're the lords of the cemetery. They're like these dancing skeletons. Actually, a manifestation of Parvati and Shiva in some stories. So it's all the things we're frightened of. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not doing this for shock value. Please don't misunderstand me. This has a real purpose because we're always sanitizing things. And I really want all of you to sink deep into the reality of what this would mean to choose this as a husband. I want you to feel this, taste it, get the scent of it. This is not someone covered in rose oil. This is not someone, you know, this is a raw energy, a primal force. This is someone who has gone completely inward and has become adverse to the ways of the world. Okay, so when we talk about Shiva and Parvati, let's try to really understand what she wanted to marry, because this is why she's remedy of moon. Okay, it's not death. I mean, well, see, it's going to seem like I'm just talking about death, but there's a theme happening here. I'm going to inquisite about it, okay? So we're going to start with Parvati, but before we start with Parvati, I want you to think about how those previous slides made you feel. When you see the skull in the hands, when you see the goblins, the skeletons, when you close your eyes and you think of a cemetery in the West, crematory or smashan in the East, samshan. Think of how that feels, or a desolate place. Think of the night. Think of dangerous places even. What kind of person goes there? There's a key word. Fearless. It's fearless. Now, fearless means what? It is something we don't really think about that much. If the moon is the karaka or indicator of attachment, Mahadeva is the indicator of detachment from this bhuloka. So in his heart, so in Sri Vishnu's heart, what do you have? You have Lakshmi that goes in. It's nothing but punya. When they say wealth is the source of all merit, is love, actually, probably. I mean, you can't think of it as like coins pouring out of the hands like we talked about in Lakshmi. But I want to get more real with you guys this time, because Parvati requires that. She's the Shakti. They all require that, actually. We can't make any of them trivial or superficial, as much as this consumer society would like to make us think of everything as something sanitized. But when you see Lakshmi in the heart of Sri Vishnu, which is this wealth, this whatever punya is, whatever merit is, okay, this infinite wealth. If you think of Parvati in the heart of Mahadeva, then you must think that she is the wealth of freedom. Fearlessness is freedom. Okay, when you look at the image of the samshan, freedom. We're scared of it because we don't want this thing to end, whatever we keep perpetuating. And I'm including myself. Okay, I'm not acting like I'm big and above it. Nothing. No, nothing like that. I'm just being realistic that this body has an end. And actually, this body, we don't really know what limitations we have. We think we want to perpetuate this, but we actually don't know if we understand even what that release is. So in the heart of Mahadeva is freedom. Freedom, absolute freedom. All of his iconography, all of his images, only a free person can do that. And what does it mean to be free? No societal restraints. He has on no clothes. He's smeared in ash. No societal restraints, smeared in ash, dancing like a wild man, doing all this yoga, sitting under a tree, he doesn't do ritual. He teaches Parvati about these things in various books, but he himself is almost anti cosmopolitan. Like, this is not the guy you just see walking down the streets in a city. I mean, if you do, he's in disguise. Okay. That's the thing. He can wear cologne and wear a nice suit or something, but inside is really what matters is inside. So you might not know if you've met Mahadeva, but he will be naked inside. There won't be any strings. There's no concern for those kind of norms. Okay. So now when we move to Ma Parvati, she clearly had this strong will, okay, very, very strong will. To Sanjana, dear Sanjana's point earlier, that she is much more of the archetypal, like many of her manifestations are much more of the archetypal, even independent Shakti. So unlike Lakshmi, which is a very different kind of Vidya, very different kind of, and any of you who didn't see that video, you're welcome to find it. We did that a little while back. So Parvati is, these things are very deep, by the way. You can't even use them just as archetypes for women and men. We're so self-absorbed in a way. Like this is a very deep intelligence that pervades all of nature. Okay, so let's start with her name. So she's also called Mahatapasa. On the end makes it female. So great tapas, the ability to burn. Burn what? The bondage. Okay, so it's all about freedom. I want you to think of the Himalayas. Think of that breeze. Just think of being free from cities, from everything. Just think of all the ties getting cut. That we do experience this every day when we sleep. And this is why when you have the great deep sleep, you don't want to wake up, something like that. Or when you have little moments of enjoyment that you forget yourself as well. See, this is where this energy becomes in the moon, can become like addictive or even attached to those little moments of escape. We'll get there. When it's only finding these limited forms of relief from its clinging. And it clings more. So it's an odd thing. We're going to get there. So Mahatapasa, Tapaswani, Tapasi. So all these names, Yoga Bhayankari. Once again, frightening ability for yoga. It's frightening. Okay, it's not a mild thing with her. She's very serious. She's willing to die over it. She doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, just continuously does the tapasya, leaves every comfort. And you imagine this in reality as well, like the grooming, like being able to like bathe, anything. I mean, you might have a river nearby, but how realistically, like how comfortable could she be out with wild animals? Let's say Yogeshwari, Yoga Mata, so the mother of yoga. So I'm just going to move through these names now. Okay, so some of these they're less known. It's very hard to find the Sahasranamam of Parvati. And I'm going to let all of you look this up, okay? I did this on purpose. You do your own search. Now, a lot of times you're going to get redirected to Lalita. So just keep looking. Okay, Nivruti or Nivritti. Now, this is an interesting word. It's usually considered negative. I see it in some kind of translations where the person's considered this negative. But this is actually referring to here is an inward moving breath, an inward moving energy. You're negating the external, the superficial. Once again, it doesn't mean superficial in the sense that you can't live in a palace. Okay? It doesn't mean that. That's a big mistake, because you could get a homeless person with nothing. And even if they're naked with no clothes and nothing, that doesn't make them actually inward. That doesn't make them liberated. As a matter of fact, they could be very bound. Okay, so this word is actually referring to an inward moving force. So she's willing to move inward. Okay, Eka, one. It's interesting. There's something called Ekagra in the Chitta Bhumis in yoga. And this is when you have one focus. One focus. This Shakti is when you gather all of your energies into one place and it's concentrated, that is a serious force. When you have your energy flowing in multiple places, you've dug multiple streams, good luck. I mean, as far as like getting to your goal, good luck. It requires a fearlessness like we talked about even with Lakshmi. All of these Shaktis have their own version of that, of fearlessness. In Lakshmi, there's that vulnerability. It's not, is he gonna one up me, or is he gonna take advantage of me, or hey, you said this, oh, Krishna, like Radha, like Krishna, you just run off with those queens and you've left me in the forest. No, it's a different kind of strength. And that's a fearlessness. She's not always looking for justice. This whole thing with justice is, it's okay. It's okay, but I'm not entirely sure it's always spiritual. And someone can batter me for saying that. I don't mind. I that's my real feeling. My real feeling is I'm not so sure all this stuff even relates to the spiritual path. All this, I gotta tit for tat, I gotta get you back, I gotta do this, all this. So Lakshmi definitely represents that kind of fearlessness, that vulnerability, but it takes a real strength to do that. Now this is a whole other form where we're consciously, we are focused on that one goal, but it's still transcendent of ordinary devotion. Okay, so devotion in the beginning can become quite selfish. Now the moon has a lot of this, and we're going to get there. Okay, so the moon can be quite self-oriented in its vanity with its devotion. Okay, so if we're obligating the person or thing, like if we're serving and that's what we're devoted to, and we're obligating others to respond to us a certain way or to like us or anything like that, then we are kind of soiling our devotion, because it's just not clean. There's other strings attached. It's not going to serve to do what the rishis were speaking about, with Ma Parvati being the remedy for the moon. Okay, so Guya Vidya, Guya Priya, Guya Shakti, all hidden Shakti, the hidden, the beloved that's hidden, or the one who loves to be hidden, you could even say. Guya Vidya, secret knowledge. Okay, please stop me if you do have questions. Okay, so Hrid Guya Gamya. Okay, this one's interesting because it's the one who is, you get close to by going into the cave of the heart, you could say. You could say this. This can translate a few ways. Once again, I'd like all of you to wake it up in yourself. But Hrid, of course, heart, Guya is hidden. And this also applies like being close to. Okay, so Atma Samshraya. And this one's easy. So I just want you all to look these up. Amrita Nabi. All of you know what the Nabi is, right? The navel. All of you know what Amrita is, right? And many of the tantric shastras, they will mention that actually the kundalini, what people are calling that, is in the Nabi. They'll say it's in various places. Actually, it's actually very kind of misunderstood topic. This whole thing with the Muladhara and all that. I mean, at least from my studies, you please decide for yourself, but I would say to do further research on that if you're really serious about that kind of path. Okay. So here's where we really start. So we have the remedial part for the moon. And now look at this, very interesting. Because when we get to the moon, we're going to be able to connect some things here. Okay. So she attains Mahadeva as a partner. And please, once again, really contemplate who he is and who she is. Okay. So Mahapala, Shri Pala, Kamacharani, Kamarupani. She attained the object of her desire. Here, desire is, you have to have actually immense desire to even make it on the spiritual path. You would have to have immense desire to get to any goal. Okay, so a lot of Parvati's names and a lot of her manifestations, a lot of the Devis that are linked with her, Kama is a big topic. Okay, so spiritual communities are often so anti-Kama. And then you've got the other branch of spiritual communities that are saying to manifest all the Kama, like the extreme side. But, perhaps I don't know for sure, but a suggestion to consider, we might need to contemplate karma a little bit, because it's actually something that is going to be there with you. So trying to negate it, you even have to have a desire for that. You have to have a desire for desirelessness, to even negate desire. So it's all somehow fueled by this very strong union with one desire. Okay. So, and then she gets the fruit of her tapasya. She is the fruit of that, the outcome of that tapasya. Now, see, Moon and her share some names in this, because Moon is called Karma Pala. Moon is also called Deva Bhojana, the food of the gods. Moon has numerous associations with being Soma, which is consumed by Agni, and Pala, which we have to consume. The results of our actions, we have to consume that. It's born, it's a fruit. And so, interesting here. So, Triloka Sundari, this is one of the names of Tripura Sundari, and just the beauty of the 3 cities, which that's a little bit mysterious as well. Bhukti Mukti Pala Prada. So once again, a pala, a word pala, the fruit. Bhukti Mukti, both. Okay, so both, Bhog and Yog are here. You need her qualities for any kind of success. So Atma Vidya. So who is Shiva? So once again, really think about this deeply. I don't want to feed this to anyone, because I'm not omnipotent, and I'm just a girl here, and I have my understanding of it. I would like you to have your understanding of it if you're really interested. And if you're really interested, you will seek to understand it, and your intelligence will unite you with the meaning of some of these words. So you know what Atma means? I don't know what Atma is, but I know what it technically means. So all of you consider what it would mean to be a knower of Atma. Praneshwara, Priya. Okay, so Lord Shiva is also called the Lord of Prana. Okay, now Ma Parvati has many names linked with Prana. That's important here too for Moon. Many names linked with Prana. Shunya. This years back, I was always interested in this. I had asked Bhauji, who I cared for years, about this with Ma Kali, because there's a lot of names of hers that associated her with this principle of, you could say, zero, or the void, the so-called nothingness. And he had some interesting answers for that. They're just, once again, you need to really contemplate this. But if there's everything, there must be nothing. And if there's nothing, there must be everything. So it's very deep. Actually, this whole thing, your own intelligence should awaken it in you. So once again, this Parvati being named Shunya has a deep meaning, because there's also a principle of nirvana and nirvikalpa. So sometimes in some of the Tantra Shastras, there is a reference to Ma Kali being that nirvana, infinite darkness, nirvikalpa being the infinite light, is Mahadeva. These are big concepts, not really big, they're probably very simple, but this thing gets in the way. So that's why I don't want to explain it. But this is why Moon is, see, this is important to go this deep with this, because Moon is actually the most difficult graha to understand, and probably the most misunderstood online. I see this a lot. Okay, at least the way the ancient people were talking about the moon, we've strayed from that very far. Okay, so I'm going to stick with what the rishis knew, because I don't know. Okay, so Janma, Mrityu, Jagatiga. Okay. So one that is beyond life and death, birth and death. One that is beyond the cycle of births and deaths. Okay, so remember this in Shiva's heart. freedom. Okay. Okay, so let's just go a little more on Parvati. I've got slides on the moon, and then we're going to weave it all together. Okay, so those of you who want this PDF, it will be on my website once again, so you can read anything you've missed. I have a lot of the things that I've already explained here. This is just kind of leading us into the fact that one of the first things Ma Parvati asked Mahadeva on their wedding night is to teach her yoga. Okay, so even though she had done this severe tapasya already, you got to think about that too. She's already done this. She's an adept at tapasya. But she actually asks him, please teach me yoga. And he teaches her, very lovingly teaches her. And out of her compassion, she realizes no one's free. Like everyone's bound, they're suffering. So she thinks it would be a good idea to go teach humans. And Shiva, being all knowing, he doesn't think it's a great idea, which is kind of funny because he may be right in some ways, but you know, his love for her, he says, sure, you know, you can go teach these guys, the Saptarishis. Okay, so she's the one that actually brings yoga to the Saptarishis. Okay, so I have here just a little bit more about Shiva and King Janak's state. Because he was Mahadeva inside, you could say. He was free. He's absolutely free. But he had the kingdom, he had the wives, he had everything. So this is why I'm saying to contemplate what the real thing is, not to just run away and hide out, you know, hide away from people. You can't become Mahadeva without great friction. You need other people for that friction. You need this world for that friction. For real spiritual life, you can try to escape it, but that's not real freedom. You're not free from yourself. You're hiding. So like Parvati, be a warrior. You have to be strong inside to face this world, especially on a spiritual path, because this world is anti. It's definitely opposite the spiritual path. Okay. So she teaches the Saptarishis yoga. And what I have here, guys, because we're about to go into the moon's territory now, I have different definitions of yoga from classical sources, because it is a huge reason why moon is on Mahadeva's head and Parvati is the remedy for moon. You cannot leave out yoga here. Just like with Lakshmi, you can't leave out that bhakti, that wealth of that pure love without effort. That's a whole other thing. Okay, so with Parvati, you cannot leave out the beauty of yoga, the gift of yoga, the gift of freedom. But it has to be taken very seriously. It's not about bending your body and all that. As a matter of fact, you can do yoga without any asana, any physical thing. But we'll get to that. But you need to understand what yoga is from reliable sources, not some girl running her mouth, not some yoga article online. Please go to the classical sources. And if you're very interested, try to get good translations of this. Don't settle with one. All you got to do is copy and paste in Google. It'll tell you the source, I'm sure. And then you're going to see a few translations. Just choose. I would recommend anything that looks too sanitized. When you start getting a lot of words like divine and high and righteous and all of this, maybe kind of go for the real simple thing. Real simple. If it's divine, it doesn't need us to say it's divine. Okay. It's creating a lot of separation in ourselves to keep doing that. Okay. So these are some classical definitions of yoga from rishis, from great beings.
Sure.
Okay, I'm recording. Hi guys, I'm putting this towards the beginning of the video, but we've actually already finished the video. We just felt it was important to let you know that if you do like this series of videos, we are going to do not only Maha Saraswati, but we're also going to do Ma Durga as the remedy for Rahu. because that actually feels very important. And some of you maybe had been expecting me to cover more on Durga with Parvati, but I needed to keep them separate, as Parvati is the remedy for the moon, and Ma Durga is the remedy for Rahu, which is actually quite different. So you can really expect some new information in that video. So I have a lot of information on Rahu that I have never really spoken about publicly. So we'll cover completely many things about Durga as well. So we just wanted to let you guys know that.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get into the moon, guys. This is where we really get into probably what a lot of people are interested in, which is the actual Jyotish. So this is just copy and pasted from an article of the lunar effects on human beings. Now, moon has the most proven effect on us out of every graha. It is the most proven, huge effect. There have been so many people trying to debunk this thing with the full moon and violence and all of these things, like, but every time, if you know emergency room doctors, they will actually tell you, they will say we're packed about that 3 days within that full moon period. The hormones, the chemistry in the brain. Remember, let's go over the karakas of the moon, guys, real quick. For those of you who study, let's forget all these YouTube videos. Please, just for now, let's stick with the rishis. Manas karaka, Janma karaka, those two things. Just stick with that. The purpose of birth. The moon is the one that is rebirth, that causes birth. So do you see how we just focused on freedom for the first portion of this? So please, if you stick with the rishis, you will get the moon more. If you start saying that the moon is only emotions, see, each graha gives emotion according to Jyotish, according to the rishis. Like Mangal and Surya, because they're Pitta, they're Agni, they give anger. Like this, you know? Bud tends to give envy, for instance. They talk about that. So we can't really say the moon is responsible for all those little feelings. Now, the backdrop of why we took birth, there you could apply that translation that the moon is emotions, but it's a much deeper thing. It is your waking, dreaming, and sleeping state according to the rishis. The moon governs all the states of awareness. Do you understand what that means? I just want you all to sit with that. If you want to just stick with the rishis, they say the moon governs waking, dreaming, sleeping state. So it's a state. A state of what? So think deeply. Okay, so Janma Karaka, cause of birth. Manas Karaka, the manas, and there's not a proper English equivalent for this, guys. People say mind, but it's when you dream, the manas is going. When you sleep, the manas is there. It's there. It might not be, but this is this chitta thing. This, we do not have English. So when you wake up and you are yourself, whatever you're calling yourself, that is moon. The moon has grabbed you. So I am this, I am that. Moon. Sticky. Moon's very sticky. Manas is very sticky. It sticks to everything, attached. And it morphs. Okay, this is where people are getting ideas that it's moods or emotions, but it's actually the substance that movement, it's more like a substance. And there's all these little seeds planted in it. Let's say it's like a soil. It's like a soil, and all these little seeds get planted in it, and they all bloom. That is karma palam. That's the karma palam. That's what the dashas show. That's why the dashas commence from the moon. So you're not going to read a dasha commencing from Mars for anger or something like that. See, it's just strange the way we've kind of taken this. So the rishis were only interested in Jyotish, really. I think it became different later with the Greeks, with the Yavanas, foreigners, perhaps even Moguls. They were very interested in freedom. They were interested in two things. They were interested in the welfare of the land. They were very interested in things not suffering. They didn't want unnecessary suffering. So it's like, give us rain, let the cows produce milk, let our land and all the animals, everything be fertile, the soil be fertile. So there's a lot of prayers for those kind of things, like abundance, because it's not necessary to have all that suffering. It's very simple. So there's that. And then there's all these rituals for the release of the bondage of the jivatma, the release of that bondage. There's timing to do those rituals, like the shroud at death. Okay, and Tibetans, I believe, have preserved this a little better. Interestingly, they have their own version, but most things they have come from India. So they have, this Bardo Thardal, which is the Book of the Dead, and it's all about helping the person not be reborn. It was one of the first books when I was 17, and I really got just hit with I couldn't think of anything else. That was one of the first books. I read it over and over, and I even typed it out because it was all I could was something I was experiencing at the time. And I remember the effect that had was like a meditation, right? Um, and I would encourage people that are so inclined to understand that there were actual sciences to help, someone who had passed to clip, or at least try, at least try. Even a normal person can read that. You don't have to be a saint. I mean, that would help. But I'm saying that it was designed so you could help someone recognize something more true than the manas at death, getting wrapped in all the various warpings that happen at death. Okay. So see, moon is all that stuff. That's why I'm saying, guys, be careful, because moon is not just emotion. Moon is that sticky thing that's causing the rebirth. Okay. And it has a huge effect on women as well, like the hormonal shifts and all of that. If you're high estrogen in general, I don't care what body you're in, male, female, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're a high estrogen person, the moon is going to have an effect on you. And so will nighttime, by the way, nighttime and the moon. So the moon is always running into trouble for exactly the opposite of what Parvati Devi's qualities are. One pointed focus, she's going to die for that. She's going to die for that goal. This guy, he can't keep one pointed focus to save his life. He gets cursed constantly for having this rag and dvesha, this attraction and repulsion. And it's strong in him. Now, this might be what people are mistaking for being the karaka of emotion. See, manas doesn't mean emotion. That's different. Actually, Shukra is a good karaka for emotion, and that's why bhakti is really good for Shukra, to forget justice. With bhakti, you can't keep thinking, oh, you did this to me, I'm going to get you back, all of this stuff. You have to go deeper than that in devotion. You can't expect anything in return. And that's great for Shukra. It's a great remedy because Shukra is look at Shukracharya, extremely focused on revenge and justice. His avatar, Parsuram. So see, bhakti is a great remedy for Shukra in this sense, to release all that I'm entitled to get revenge. Who are you? Who said you are? I'm asking that question. I'm not saying I know for sure, but I'm saying that why don't we sometimes ask and go deeper than this first initial repulsion, this first initial reaction, especially when someone hurts us. Something else may be going on, even with that person. Okay, so Chandra, the big thing is this attraction aversion that is huge, waxing, waning. Okay, now all of Chandra's curses are because he lacks devotion, he lacks dedication to one thing. He almost had it for Rohini, but if you really read the story, he was kind of going between the other wives. He just wouldn't go to Jeshta. So he just wouldn't go to Jeshta because he knew Jeshta was so authentic. She's going to call him out. So nothing's wrong with you ladies that are Jeshta, okay? Yeah, as a matter of fact, Lakshmi keeps you close. You're her sister. So actually, there's a great need for that. She was the only one that would speak up. Like, this guy, he's not following his promise. So she called him out. She called out what? Insincerity. Insincerity is a big thing when you're governed by uh overpowering rag, because it's like being in love with a new person every day. It's like, no, who's going to take you serious? So actually, Chandra is the karaka of lust in Jyotish. This is according to the rishis. Now Shukra does have this too, but they represent two different sides of that force. They co-rule Taurus for this reason. They both rule Taurus. And Moon's Mula Trikone is in Taurus, and Ucha point is in Taurus. You get your first food. Now remember, all the five senses are where? They're on your face. The five physical senses, the eyes, nose, mouth for taste, rasa, the ears. So the second house is the face, where all the senses are. Okay. So it's a big clue there, big hint. Okay, so what does yoga do? Ask yourself. Okay, so why is Parvati the remedy for this? So Chandra Deva is always in trouble because of these senses, because they see Parvati becomes attracted to the subtle, to going inward, to the subtle senses, which are actually quite opposite of the physical senses. And to access them, a lot of times you have to behave the opposite way of the world to access the subtle senses. So it's a big, and this is a science. It sounds so, it's like religion, I feel like, and science has spoiled everything. Because if you're extreme one or the other, it just starts sounding like a dogma, like some kind of rigid belief system. But you have to try these things to know whether they're real or not before you dismiss them. So like try it, like I said with the Lakshmi video, try a sadhana for 40 days. Not like Chandra would. Sincerely, steadily, not just be attracted to it for 4 days and leave it. Follow it through, no matter how you feel, no matter if you're attracted to it anymore or not. Just follow it through. And how we talked about Lakshmi with that kind of love being so pure that every day when you wake up is fresh, meaning the same face is fresh every day. It's new. When you touch what Lakshmi really is, that same point of devotion, it will be fresh every day. You won't want to change that devotion. You won't want to go from this devata to this devata, or to this devi to that devi, to this guru to that guru. You won't want to go to this partner to that partner. You actually will want to go very deep with the one. As something with Lakshmi and with Parvati, all these Shaktis have that quality. They go deep in different ways. So to get anywhere, we have to kind of realize that this extreme movable quality, this swing, is one of the things that's making us so trapped. Okay. So as Jyotishis, let me ask you guys something. We're going to keep going on the moon, but I want you to contemplate something. How similar is the Kundali to prison? Meaning, what is it showing? It's showing karma palam, right? Which is the prison. It's the prison to the karma, meaning this is the chart only shows the bondage. I would be very weary of anyone who tells you they can give you freedom through your chart, or they can give you this remedy and give you freedom. All of that, you're going to have to work for that freedom. I know this already. Please, guys, take like self-autonomy here. Have courage for that. Have courage of heart for that. If you want freedom for something, look at Parvati. She worked for it. She wanted freedom. She wanted to marry the embodiment of freedom. And that required her to challenge her whole reality. And only a brave person can do that. So when we're looking at a chart, according to the rishis, we're looking at karma, the prison that caused rebirth. We're not looking at the person, the free person. We're not looking at that part. Jyotishis, we may be overstepping our boundaries with people. Oh, you're like this, your personality is this. How do they know? This is wrong. Please, guys, please stop damning people to prison. The chart is just supposed to illumine what the prison is, and then the person's intelligence should connect to that and work for that freedom. Understand it. If you are given that subtle sense to understand it is different than if you're just studying books. So I always encourage sadhana. I can't encourage it enough. People can think I'm just crazy. That's okay. I don't mind. But those of you who are actually willing to try something crazy, I would say if you're practicing Jyotish and you're reading charts, your sadhana is very important, much more than reading books and being right. Some inner sense needs to be working so that you recognize the person sitting in front of you and so that you cultivate compassion as well. What's the use of impressing someone with all this terminology and yogas and getting predictions right and all of this if the person feels they leave feeling like they're in prison? If they leave you not feeling hope that they can get out of prison, you've kind of done the opposite of what Jaimini Rishi was saying to do, because Jaimini Rishi, he said to be a Jyotishi, you need a malefic in the fourth or the fourth house associated with malefic energy. And that's so that you can have compassion for suffering. Okay? And the fourth house is what? Natural house of the moon. Okay. So it's your deepest psychology. It's the midnight Muhurt. The fourth house is midnight sun, right? Hidden, concealed sun. It's the deepest part of the chart. It's the most concealed part. And deep in there, you need to understand suffering of other people. If you're compassionless, you should, in my please, I do say I'm ignorant, but in my experience, I don't think Jyotish belongs in the hands of people that are just trying to make money or lack compassion. I actually think it's bad for them. I actually worry for them. Rishi Parashara talks about that. He says that doesn't go well in the next birth. Okay, so be careful doing this stuff. You need to have deep compassion. Don't just try to be right. It's even better to be wrong if the person leaves, recognizing they can break out of prison. They can. They're not damned to it. And Parvati is that. She is that within you. Okay. So moon is the one that causes the janma. Okay. So here, if you see, I have this beautiful actress here. Her name is slipping me right now, but she's got a Vargotham moon in Cancer. So really good example of the moon. Beautiful. She's just beautiful. God, I don't know why her name is slipping me. I usually know all this. So I just want you to be aware of what the moon is in stories. He's always cursed for lust and vanity. Those are the two things that get the moon, and they're often associated only with Shukra. So you guys need to understand this. The moon is salty taste as well. So something salty, like this is lusty in this sense. Okay, so it's the thing that drives us. Shukra and Chandra are the two that create the urge to have babies and all of that stuff. Shukra Dhatu is a reproductive fluid, but the moon is the one driving you towards that romance. The moon is said by Rishi Parashara to be lovesick, longing all the time, longing for love. Okay, it's not Shukra that's said to be like that. Shukra can be seductive, but the moon is actually in love with something that he doesn't even understand. He's chasing it. Okay, so the ocean of attraction belongs to the moon, actually. Now, look at all the songs. I just wanted to, it's kind of humorous, but all the songs that have the moon, it's just always the nighttime, is romantic, you know. It's like all these songs. Those of you who know Hindi will know these very well. So it's constant. Like, you look at so many Hindi songs specifically, you're going to see moon, 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 but even in the West, and the night, you know, the night is brought up as well, you know. So just think about this, that the time, the setting for romance to happen is heavily linked with the moon. Okay, so it's not just this emotional motherly self. It's what causes you to become a mother. Okay, so this is something that you just think about this, because this is what causes rebirth, that bittersweet melody of life. Moon is the singer. Moon is dramatic, loves the drama, and is stuck to the drama. So that magnetism that draws us back into the womb, that's moon. Okay, now the avatar of moon is, and we're running a little late, so I'll hurry up. Okay, so we both have a time limit tonight, so so Rishi Parashara gives Krishna avatar to moon. He is the Ucha moon in the Lagna in Rohini Nakshatra. But not only that, if you look at his whole life, this is kind of homework for you guys. Realize the themes of Krishna's life. Okay, so we have Ras Leela as one thing, but really try to understand that in a deep way. Please don't just think, oh, he's running around with pretty women. This is kind of, I'm not saying you can't look at it that way. You can look at it any way you want to, but try to really go deep. It's probably much deeper than that, I'm going to suggest. But each chapter of the Gita is called a yoga. Okay, and it's you know, the Mahabharata is because of two families. It's the same family that splits, right? Moon is a karaka of mother. All this mystery around birth, like Kunti, she has the child when she's 16. Karan, who she has to, you know, out of shame, she has to get, all their births are mysterious. Even Gandhari's children, they're all mysterious. Krishna's birth is mysterious. You know, all his siblings get murdered. He gets given to someone else. It's like and Gandhari's children are almost like test tube babies. When you read the story, it's almost like they had a science, because they sprinkle water on the iron that comes out of her womb, and they become 100 children. So there's this big theme with mystery around birth. So really analyze this, guys. If you really want to know what moon is, Mahabharata, not Mangal. Mangal is actually linked with Narasimha avatar. Okay, protecting innocence, ferocious protection of innocence. That's Mangal, ferocious, and he won't calm down. Lakshmi has to sit on his lap, right? And then he cools down. Okay, so now Krishna avatar is the avatar of moon. We even have Radha, who's going crazy in the forest. Okay, we even have the lunacy, the gopis, you know. So just look at the whole theme around Krishna's life. Look at the powerful matriarchs. Look at the powerful female leads like Radha and Rukmini. Look at this. Look at the splitting of the two families, the pettiness between the two, not letting grudges go. Look at all the problems that the attraction and aversion causes in these stories. I mean, it's really profound. Even Bhishma's oath, not to have what? Children. His oath causes some of the biggest issues, potentially causes the war. His oath is responsible for so much. Okay, so I'm just saying, analyze the whole story, and you're going to get an idea of what moon actually is. Then you tell me if moon is just emotional. Okay, that's much deeper than this. It is emotional, but it's in a very serious way. It's not just your everyday emotion like this. So let's come back to Parvati now that we're about to close, and let's consider why her and her manifestations are so linked to being remedies for the moon. So I think it's already answered itself, to be honest. There's many forms of Parvati to choose from, many manifestations of her, but you always see her here. You always see her with the eye open here. And in the Navgraha Kavach, we ask Chandra Deva to protect this area. We actually ask Mangal to protect our face. Okay. Mangal's a good guardian over the senses, and you can kind of meditate on that. We ask Rahu to protect our tongue, interestingly. I say that in talks a lot because people keep saying Rahu's a liar. I don't know if we're really looking at what the old, just go back to the sutras and the shlokas, and you just look at these really, really finely edited sutras sometimes are better because they're just simple. They're condensed. And you'll see a lot about Rahu might surprise you. But anyway, Ketu as well. Ketu protect our feet, which people may think, but what do we do with our feet? They take us in a direction. We have to walk the path. So asking Ketu to protect that. And he's the subtle senses, actually. It's interesting. So moon, we asked to protect the forehead. Yoga is the remedy for moon, but you have to know really what yoga is, and specifically how Parvati Devi did that. So if you direct all that energy that Chandra is wasting on extremes of attraction and aversion, and you somehow get it into a neutral space or a middle space, you're always going to have it. You're always going to have attraction and aversion. You're going to have things you like and don't like. There's no way to escape that, really. There's people that do, but it's very hard. And even them, they're still attracted to that state of consciousness. So I would even debate that they're still attracted, like an Gauri, they're attracted to that. It's very hard to escape desire. If you think you're desireless, like I said, you're still attracted, you're still drawn to that. You're still, not until the very end do I think any of this gets cleansed, if it even needs to be. I don't know. I just don't know if we're considering how simple some of this stuff could be, like when they call her Kameshwari, and she's a goddess of desire, but we need that desire. It's not to cut it, it's to put it in the right channel. So make your attraction to the right thing that's going to get you to your goal, and be fearless with that magnetic pull. Just let it guide you. If you want to be the best musician, that's also a yoga. Get union with that goal. Experience it yourself so that you realize, see, those things are important. Like when we really, really desire something and we can't just let it go, it might be that we really need, our consciousness is hungry for that experience. And so you can actually practice Parvati's method on this. It doesn't have to be that you desire Shiva. We're not religiously rigid here. Let's be all on the same level and be friends. Someone might desire anything, but make that desire worth it. So even if you have to take rebirth, your energies are more focused. Maybe you want to take rebirth. What do we know about this, really? I know what I long for. I can speak for myself, right? You can speak for yourself. But whatever it is, make it such that it gives that peace of mind. So the fourth house, where the moon has pure rulership over the sign Cancer, it's all about this. You either have peace of mind or you don't. And if you have peace of mind, you can be in any home, any situation, an ugly home, a beautiful home. You can be in any company, bad company, good company. You can have people doing anything around you and you'll be fine. You'll be happy. You need to ask those questions because we may not be seeing things as they are. And therefore we're going to naturally lack compassion. That's the dangerous thing with righteousness, becoming righteous on our mission. You know, Mars has a big issue with this, actually, becoming the highest. You know, I'm the highest, I'm the most, you know, this, it actually can really harm compassion. And so the moon, I would encourage you to be gentle with your desires, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with your feelings, be gentle with those things that you have strong attraction and aversion to, especially if you're on the spiritual path, and allow yourself to come to peace with who you really are more. Because if you start from that place and you don't have such high and low, you will have a much easier time even in your spiritual path. And when you actually get further, when you get deeper into yourself, you'll find that no matter what anyone comes to you with, no matter what they've done, they say the moon has no enemies. You will find this quality is actually kind of naturally cultivating. Your peace of mind isn't disturbed even if someone isn't nice to you. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that. It's just actually no feeling other than, there's just some other feeling that's there, and it doesn't rock your peace of mind so much. So anyway, the moon we have to bring to some kind of middle point, because otherwise it's big swings of waxing and waning. And the only real way to do that is to actually concentrate the energy in places that matter to you and withdraw the energy from places that have little value or do not matter to you. Okay. I've met people like this through my life that maybe they're not on a so-called spiritual path, but they're able to do this, which is actually a spiritual quality. Mm-hmm. And then I've met people who do a lot of spiritual practice, but they're not able to do this at all. And you know what I mean? And it actually makes it very difficult. It can become very confusing for them. So this quality of self-reflection and being able to withdraw energy from places that aren't valuable to you is really important. Okay, Navjeet, do you have any question? Okay.
Yeah. Some of the important points I've been making notes for myself. Yeah, it's really, really interesting topic. And there's a lot to learn and digest, but it's really beautifully presented as always.
Okay, I hope it didn't lose you too much. I apologize because I'm not a
I was just making notes while I was listening. Yeah, thank you.
So any questions or anything? This was clear?
So when you, just one clarity I wanted, when you mentioned like the remedy is yoga, right? So is it?
That's a very broad term in this case, but yes.
Okay. So is it like practicing yoga? You can say?
Okay, so it could be for some people, like the actual path of yoga is what you mean. Perhaps it could be for some people. Okay, let's go back to these definitions of yoga. Okay, so it could be for some, because that's what's natural for them. But there's quite a few definitions of yoga. Specifically, this one is very interesting, so I want you guys to look it up. I want to translate it for you. Okay. So if you notice, like I said, the Bhagavad Gita, each chapter is called a yoga. And like Shukra is called Yoga Karka. So it doesn't necessarily mean asanas. It doesn't even mean mantra, tantra, yantra. All of that doesn't mean any of that. So let's say you have a routine that you lose yourself in every day. Mm-hmm. You actually really forget yourself. Let's say every part of your mind is collected and then you forget yourself. You're in some kind of flow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so that is, you could call a form of yoga. Because the mind temporarily is not doing what? Mm-hmm. Vritti, in some way, temporarily, see, that vritti is a big word too. Like every life experience is under that. If you study Yoga Shastra, you're going to see there's not anything that's not covered under that. Even sleep is a vritti. So, I mean, it's any human experience. It's almost like a sense of humor there, because there's not one experience you can list that's outside of a vritti, really. So, what I'm saying in a loose way, that even when you're listening to music or you play music and you just completely lose yourself, there, you're not there in that moment. In a way, that is yoga. In a way, it has to be, according to many of these definitions. So, who are we to say what's spiritual for one person? I mean, it might just be going out and sitting under a tree at the same time every day for one person. It could be playing a sport. We don't know. I mean, Paramahansa Ramakrishna would go into samadhi over anything. I mean, the guy would see birds and go into samadhi, or I mean, this. So we just actually do. I mean, he was associating with all kinds of people. Didn't stop him from that. So yeah, I hope that answers. But that's
yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Evji. This was wonderful presentation, a new way of looking at moon, and like you said, not just emotions, many other. So this was really beautifully done. Thank you so much for joining us.
Navjeet, it's so good to see you. I'm so happy. Okay, well, just let me know if there's any other questions. People can always email me and all of that. Okay.
Yeah, and they can, if they want, I'll put Evji's email here. You guys can email her or even leave a comment below, and maybe we can do a video to address some of the comments as well for both the videos.
Yeah, we actually can, especially after we do Saraswati, because there might be questions about all three, because they're also distinctly different.
Yes.
And I didn't spend a lot of time here on purpose talking about the attribute of Durga, which is completely independent. So we could even have a fourth on Durga, because see, Durga is actually in this case very different than Parvati. As a matter of fact, Durga is often called Vishnu Maya. So the interesting thing with this, so we should maybe even do a fourth on Durga, because that's actually the true archetype of the independent feminine, truly, just independent of anything else. Whereas Parvati, her stories are very much around her tapasya for Mahadeva, right? So it doesn't mean it has to be for a man. Once again, it's a goal. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we should definitely also do Durga. I would love that. And I'm sure everyone's going to really enjoy it too.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Okay, Navji, I'm so sorry we went over time.
No,
Okay.
thank
I'm
you.
so aware of you because I know you have somewhere to go. Okay, so let's close
I
and
stopped from my site.
oh, okay. Okay, well, I'll
No,
just
we're totally good on time. We're early, actually.
oh, are we? Okay, I'm just gonna do a close.
Yeah.
I'll do a
I was just making
Navji.
all the notes here while you were speaking.
Okay, I'm gonna do a closing mantra though. So
Oh, okay.
okay.
Oh,
It's okay. I'll give you my recording. Navji stopped recording, so you guys get my version. So I'll just say the closing prayer. Om Hrim Yogini Yoga Bhayankari Yogeshwari Namaha. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundai Vichai. Thank you guys. Thank you.